All right, well, here in chapter 26 of the book of Ezekiel, we are way into Ezekiel. We're probably just past halfway through the book of Ezekiel already. Congratulations for making it this far. Hopefully you've watched all the videos. This is awesome. Hopefully you've really enjoyed these videos. I'd love to hear your comments, what you think of all these videos through the Old Testament we've done. Now, in this chapter specifically, in Ezekiel 26, we're continuing these prophecies of neighboring cities and neighboring peoples around Jerusalem. This one is going after Tyre. Now, Tyre is another seafaring port. Basically, it's a port that they're right up by the sea, very wealthy. If you remember, we hear a lot about Tyre from the cedars of Lebanon. Solomon built an alliance with Tyre to build, so he could import a lot of good, valuable stuff to build his palace and the temple up, basically. So Tyre is kind of a symbol of worldliness and wealth and fame, basically. So verse 1, and it came to pass in the 11th year, in the first day of the month, that the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, so now we have another time marker, 11th year. This is the year Jerusalem gets destroyed, basically, in the first day of the month. So this is probably March and April timeframe for us in 587 BC. They are going through the destruction. It is about to completely be obliterated in this year and be destroyed and have all these challenges and problems. And so this is when all these prophecies are happening, basically. So just before they're happening, the prophecies are coming out. Verse 2, Son of man, because that Tyrus hath said against Jerusalem, Aha, she is broken that was the gates of the people. She is turned unto me. I shall be replenished. Now she is laid waste. So remember that aha is kind of spitefully laughing at them, basically. They're making fun of them. Now, so like we talked about, Tyre is kind of northwest of Jerusalem, up the coast. Very big commerce happens there, basically. In fact, let me read this from Unger's Bible Dictionary. It said, Tyre was situated on the coast about halfway between Carmel in Israel and Beirut in Lebanon. But it was a particular geographic feature of Tyre that gave it its most remarkable prophetic destiny. Merrill F. Unger noted that Tyre once consisted of two parts, a rocky coast defense of great strength on the mainland, and a city upon a small but well protected island about a half a mile from the shore. So if you're looking up the coastline on a map, you'll see this little peninsula stick out, and there was a city out on that island, and there's a rocky shore around it. So it had a lot of natural defenses, basically, and that's where we're talking about. So that's where this is. So they're going to be destroyed as well. Verse 3, Therefore, thus saith the Lord God, Behold, I am against thee, O Tyrus, and will cause many nations to come up against thee, and the sea, as the sea causeth his waves to come up. So they are susceptible because they are at sea level in the Mediterranean. Those major waves could, a flood, a tsunami could easily destroy that city. So just like a tsunami could destroy that city, an army is going to come upon them. Basically a big flood and just destroy them. Verse 4, verse 4, They shall destroy the walls of Tyrus and break down her towers. I will also scrape her dust from her and make her like the top of a rock. So smooth. You won't know there's a sign that anybody was there. There's no archaeological opportunities. It's gone. Verse 5, It shall be a place for the spreading of nets in the midst of the sea, for I have spoken it, saith the Lord God, and it shall become a spoil to the nations. And her daughters which are in the field shall be slain by the sword, and they shall know that I am the Lord. So this could be the oceans, the sea levels rise, and this area gets submerged as well. Could be a possibility of understanding that verse. Verse 7, For thus saith the Lord God, Behold, I will bring upon Tyrus Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, a king of kings, from the north with horses and with chariots and with horsemen and companies and much people. In the let's see, this is Samuel Fallows, the popular and critical Bible Encyclopedia and Scriptural Dictionary. When talking about Tyre, he says, "But before a generation had passed away, according to Josephus, who is a Jewish historian during the time of Christ, and Philostratus and Seder Olam, Nebuchadnezzar came up as had been predicted, making a fort, casting a mount, and lifting up the buckler. At the end of 13 years, so about 605 BC, he took the city, at least that on the mainland, and Tyre was forgotten 70 years, as had been foretold by Isaiah 23:15. So it was destroyed and left, basically. Verse 8, and he shall slay with the sword thy daughters in the field. I think I just read the one, sorry. Verse 9, and he shall set engines of war against thy walls, and with his axes he shall break down thy towers. So those engines of war are siege towers. These are the big towers that you would push up against the wall so that your army can run up these stairs and get over into the top. If you're a fan of Lord of the Rings, you know what these siege engines look like when you think of the Battle of Minas Tirith and those big siege engines, those big towers moving up to the wall to get in. Verse 10, by reason of the abundance of his horses, their dust shall cover thee. Thy wall shall shake at the noise of the horsemen and of the wheels and of the chariots, when he shall enter into thy gates as men enter into a city wherein is made a breach. So that's a huge influx of the enemy coming in. They're running so hard, there's so many of them that there's a bit of a ground shaking happening. Verse 11, with the hoofs of his horses shall he tread down all thy streets. He shall slay thy people by the sword, and thy strong garrisons shall go down to the ground. They shall make a spoil of thy riches, and make a prey of thy merchandise. They shall break down thy walls, and destroy thy pleasant houses, and they shall lay thy stones and thy timber and thy dust in the midst of the water. And I will cause the noise of thy songs to cease, and the sound of thy harp shall be no more heard. So basically, Tyre is being obliterated. The armies of the enemy are running up and down your streets. They're destroying everything. You don't have any time to hear your songs. Most of the people are going to be dead, and there won't be any opportunities to sing and make merry because of the destruction and death that's happening. Verse 14, I will make thee like the top of a rock, again, smooth. No indication that something was there. Thou shalt be a place to spread nets upon. Thou shalt be built no more, for I the Lord have spoken it, saith the Lord God. I don't think they've found where this city is. They kind of know where it is along the coastline because of that peninsula concept, but there's nothing there. Nothing there, basically. It's all gone. Verse 15, thus saith the Lord God to Tyrus, shall not the isles shake at the sound of thy fall, when the wounded cry, when the slaughter is made in the midst of thee? Now here's a quote that I got. Let's see. This one is from. There's a larger quote here out of the Bible Encyclopedia about Tyre, but they quote a few other people inside this. So this says, for nearly 300 years, these prophecies appeared to be inaccurate. Nebuchadnezzar conquered the mainland city, but was unable to subdue all of Tyre because of its strategic position on the island. So when Nebuchadnezzar was doing his main battles, he sieged Tyre, but he couldn't get onto the island. After a few decades, Tyre regained her wealth and splendor, though the ruined city on the shore was not rebuilt. So the part on the shore was destroyed, and they didn't rebuild that one, but on the island, they were able to survive it. Let's see, and the island fortification became the central city. Then in 332 BC, Alexander the Great, so this is later, Alexander the Great swept out of the northern Mediterranean world. So now Alexander the Great's coming down, basically. He came down from more Turkey, Rome, that area coming down, basically. He moved south with his forces and camped on the ruins of ancient Tyre, isolating the inhabitants on the island offshore. Tyre had supposedly made a peaceful alliance with the Greeks, but when Alexander requested permission to bring his troops into Tyre to worship their gods and was refused, he laid siege to Tyre, a difficult task since the city lay on an island a half a mile off the shore. James Hastings described what followed. The memorable siege began. Alexander built a mole or a causeway 200 feet wide out towards the island. It was repeatedly destroyed. The defense was desperate and successful till Alexander invested the city with a fleet of 224 ships. Tyre was stormed, 8,000 of her inhabitants massacred, 2,000 crucified on the shore, and 30,000 sold into slavery. Tyre ceased to be an island, and henceforth was permanently joined to the mainland. Only a blunt headland today suggests the existence of the former island fortress. The mole is now about a half a mile broad. So Fallows noted how Ezekiel's prophecy that Tyre would be scraped clean and made like the top of a rock was fulfilled. So utterly were the ruins of old Tyre thrown into the sea that its exact site is confessedly undeterminable, although the ruins of nearby 50 cities near Rome, which perished almost 2,500 years ago, testify that the extinction of every trace of a city is a sort of miracle. So what they're saying is, not only was, again, Tyre destroyed, but we have lots of ancient cities that were destroyed. Jerusalem was destroyed. Lots of other cities were destroyed, but we have the remnants of those ancient cities. We do archaeology, we find them. But Tyre was so thoroughly destroyed that we can't find evidence that it was there. So that is fascinating. That is really interesting for us to think about, that it was destroyed just as what Ezekiel prophesied. Now, it took a while for this prophecy to happen. It was under Alexander the Great that destroyed Tyre all the way. Nebuchadnezzar couldn't quite get there. But it doesn't mean Ezekiel was wrong. It just took a while longer for that fulfillment. Verse 16, then all the princes of the sea shall come down from their thrones and lay away their robes and put off their broidered garments, and they shall clothe themselves with trembling. They shall sit upon the ground and shall tremble at every moment and be astonished at thee. So again, this is the people being astonished and mourning for Tyre, for this city. Verse 17, they shall take up a lamentation for thee, and they shall say to thee, how art thou destroyed? Thou wast inhabited of seafaring men, the renowned city, which was strong in the sea, she and her inhabitants, which caused their terror to be on all that haunted. Now shall the isles tremble in the day of thy fall, yea, the isles that are in the sea shall be troubled at thy departure. For thus saith the Lord God, when I shall make thee a desolate city, like the cities that are not inhabited, when I shall bring up the deep upon thee, and great waters shall cover thee. When I shall bring thee down with them that descend into the pit, with the people of old time, and shall set thee in the low parts of the earth, in places desolate of old, with them that go down to the pit, that thou shalt not be inhabited. Then I shall set glory in the land of the living. I will make thee a terror, and thou shalt be no more. Though thou be sought for, yet shalt thou never be found again, saith the Lord God. There you have it. The great city of Tyre, utterly destroyed eventually, and wiped out to where we can't even find it. If it wasn't for these stories, we would never know it was there. So history is preserved that they were there, but now we can't even find, there's nothing to excavate, there's nothing to do basically. So they were utterly destroyed. So let's jump on to our next chapter, which is a continuation of this chapter basically. So let's jump over there as we continue to talk about the destruction of Tyre.